6:05 p.m. We have present tonight Councilman Podeska, Councilman McComber, Councilman Porter, Councilman Wilden will be here shortly, and Councilman Karn has asked to be excused. So we do have a quorum. I've asked Councilman Porter to lead us, or Councilman McComber to lead us in our invocation, Councilman Porter to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Our dear and gracious Heavenly Father, as we come before Thee at this time, we're grateful for all the many blessings that Thou hast given us. We're grateful for this moisture that will help us through the year, the summer and fall. Heavenly Father, we're thankful for the many blessings that we have living in this beautiful city. And we ask that Thou will bless us, that we'll be able to listen to the things that are presented and be able to have open conversations and discussions about what is being shared so that we can make decisions that benefit the residents in the city of Saratoga Springs today and into the future. We ask a special blessing upon all those serving in the armed forces and in our local responders, police and fire, to bless the men and women who dedicate their lives to protecting our freedoms and our lives. Heavenly Father, we say these things humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please rise. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, public input. Time has been set aside for the public to express ideas, concerns, and comments and subject matters not listed on the agenda. If you're here for the public hearing on the road street rename, please hold your comments for that public hearing. Please be respectful in your comments. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes, and please avoid repetitive comments. Is anybody here for public input at this time? Okay. Seeing none, I will close the public input. We'll wait until Councilman Wilden's here for item 6. So we have the oath of office for our new Justice Court, Judge Ann Boyle. Yeah. Oh, okay. We can wait on that.
Give us a thumbs up whenever you're ready.
Okay, so we will go to reports. Is there any reports from the council? Today we had the Chamber of Commerce Business Luncheon. David Johnson and I were able to go there. Fat Cats was recognized as a business mayor's choice, and along with a lot of other businesses between the communities that have really made an impact or difference in our commerce area here. Councilman Porter?
Last Wednesday, I believe it was, had the opportunity with most of the rest of the council to attend the local officials day up at the legislature, spent some time with the youth council, and got to meet with Senator Andrag and Representative Moss, and discuss some of the issues facing the city, as well as on Monday, I attended with telephonically with Mark Christensen and Councilman Wilden. Due to the weather, I think they had 150 people call in and 4 or 5 people in the room, but I attended the Legislative Policy Committee and just, discussed some of the bills that we'll be seeing at the legislature this year, some of the ways that our esteemed colleagues at the council or at the Capitol seek to impose their will upon us while complaining about having the federal government do the same to them. So,
Mayor, we have a rather long administrative report, so if I could propose that we save that till the end of the meeting, and then we'll circle back right after minutes on that.
Okay. While we're waiting for Councilman Wilden's arrival.
We could only fix
We'll go to the public hearing for the road street rename, city-initiated South Indian Rock Drive, Resolution R20-2.
Mayor and council, we had a request from a citizen to change the name of Indian Rock Drive, which is located in Catalina Plat B. You see there on the map, that is the blue section, about 630 feet long, zone in the R110. If it goes through, it would involve replacement of two signs at each end of the street. We looked at some suggestions. Historically, the first line, you see that those are the historical Native American tribes that occupied the Utah Territory. We thought of Rock Drive, Crane Drive, Bow Drive, and Caraway in honor of Kara Knight, who was one of our planners that passed away a few months ago. We did talk to the developer, and they liked Rock Drive or Navajo Drive. So it's up to the city council to look at that, and I'm sorry for my voice here. Recommendation to approve, obviously. Of course, you also have the option to continue or to deny the request.
Councilman McComber?
On the map, I was pretty quickly, I couldn't see it. Are there any houses existing on there yet?
I believe there's two that are on, but they're actually turned the other on a corner, so I don't think we actually have a house yet that faces Indian
So
Rock
nobody's
Drive at this
impacted
time.
at this time, just the signs, putting them up and plotting, sending it to the county?
Yeah, we'd send an affidavit down to the county to change the name.
Because we've had this come up once before, and I just think it's good precedent if someone is impacted that, a small stipend or something is used to help cover the costs, because it is very time consuming. So I'm glad we caught this, even though I don't necessarily agree, I'm glad we caught this before a bunch of homes were impacted by it.
Notices went out. We also posted the main entrance to one side of the, one side of the street. And so that maybe was of interest. They did get a notice, so they would have seen the sign as well.
So really, we don't have any residents who are going to give their opinion or their choice, because there's none that are on that road yet, just the developer's recommendations. I personally have a self-interested for Caraway, but if the developer, I also want to support their development. I don't have a problem with Rock Drive or Navajo Drive. If I had to choose, I would probably prefer Rock Drive.
Yes, as far as the names go, I don't think the developer said one of the others. They just said, of the choices, if we had the choice, this would be Navajo or Rock Drive.
Okay.
Mayor and council, we did have at one point a name being proposed as another tribal name, and it was at that time, suggested that we not do that. Again, it's completely up to you. I don't know that there's a problem with it, but again, we may want to be sensitive to that. If the current name Indian Rock Drive caused someone to be sensitive about it, perhaps using another tribal name might be equally concerning.
Yeah. So isn't there a bill that they're considering talking about this? And so we may just want to avoid any potential having to come back and redo it, because this bill may make it, we have to get written permission from the tribe before we can do it or something like that. Just avoid the problem completely, I think. So I'm fine with Rock Drive, or, like I said, of course, Kara Drive has special meaning to us as a city.
I mean, it's a little self-interest, but yeah, being on our staff and passing away from cancer, if the staff had the way, we'd probably put our 2 cents in for Caraway.
All right.
Wilden Way?
No, we'll do that.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so I will open it up for public input. Is anybody here to make comment on the road street rename, city-initiated South Indian Rock Drive? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion unless there's comments from the council.
Already made my comments, so.
All right, I entertain a motion to renaming the Road Street rename, city-initiated South Indian Rock Drive, Resolution R20-2, dated today, to be renamed after, or to Caraway.
Okay, I have a first from Councilman Podeska.
I'll second.
I have a second from Councilman Porter. Any further discussion on the motion?
I do have one. Can I amend to if it's approved by the family members?
If I could, I would love for her husband to be here if we were going to do that. So if without his consent, I would suggest you name this one Rock Drive, and perhaps we use Kara's Way or something like that on another one.
Yeah.
Or make-
No, I
We have a
agree.
motion.
So I amend the motion to Rock Drive.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Porter?
Aye.
Wilden?
Aye.
McComber?
Aye.
Podeska?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Next item is a preliminary plat for Riverside Crossing, 62 East Thrive Drive. This will look familiar to you. This was the same plat that was proposed when the rezone came through. So nothing's changed as far as the plat goes. We're located there at the intersection of Pioneer and Redwood Road. The zoning on the property, there's 3 zones: business park, community commercial, and mixed use. Affects about 21 acres. Again, here's the preliminary plat, which will look familiar to you. Again, this is the plat that came through. When a rezone comes through, there's a concept plan. This was the concept plan that came through as far as the plat goes. Lots 1 and 2 on the top left to the right, those are the ones that now have site plan approval as well. And so this is you're the land use authority for the preliminary plat at this time. And of course, the option to Planning Commission recommends approval, the findings and conditions. And then there's the option to continue or deny as well.
Councilman Porter?
Just, looking through the staff report and seeing all the complies, this makes a very easy decision, as well as with the planning commission. I just wanted to, again, reiterate, I know you guys have worked moving this direction, but having this table laid out this way, I very much like it that way. That's just my 2 cents.
That planning checklist that you have too also, we didn't do a separate checklist for the site plan, separate checklist for the plat. We just combined all together. So a lot of that is also the site plan checklist items as well. But
Right. It's much easier for me to review in this format than, when the complies are just kind of bolded out in the text, so, yeah. I just want to, in the past, when you guys have used this format, I've said I love it, and I'm just going to say it again.
we're going to keep using it.
Okay. Is there anybody else that wants to say anything? Okay.
Okay, Councilman Podeska?
Just a question on looking at the overall layout between lots 2 and 3. This may have been addressed earlier. I'm just not clear on the road narrowing at that point, and then going back to a wider width on the Thrive.
On the
Thrive Drive.
Devonshire Drive.
Yeah. Because it narrows from the existing road from that neighborhood, and then it goes back to normal width on Thrive Drive.
The Devonshire, I'm not sure what the width is of the existing Dalmore Road. The Devonshire would be the standard local street of 59-foot cross-section. But we can look at it and see.
Okay, yeah, so just note on that, because I'm looking on in the packet, page 29.
Excuse me.
That's all.
Okay. I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the Riverside Crossing preliminary plat, Zach Olson applicant, Pioneer Crossing and Redwood Road.
I'll second. Oh, with
Yeah,
staff
with
findings and
with
conditions.
the instruction to staff to ensure that
Look at the
the
road, yeah.
Devonshire cross-section and the cross-section match,
And staff findings and
and
conditions.
staff findings and conditions.
I'll second.
I have a first from Councilman Porter, a second from Councilman McComber. Any further discussion on the motion?
Good. I'm just doing a quick measurement here, and it looks like it's about a 35-foot asphalt cross-section on Devonshire currently.
Devonshire.
And so is the intent to take and narrow it down to be the 20, what is it, about 24 feet of asphalt we have now, or do we want to just carry that, 29? Do we want to just carry that 35 down to the corner?
I would say we should carry it down, just for consistency's sake. There's no reason, I mean, you'd
'Cause it goes
want
to that
more traffic
cul-de-sac.
capability and parking in
Or
a
elbow.
commercial area, right? Is there,
The problem is the developer is entitled to approval under our current standards. We can't vary from that.
all right,
Okay.
that's,
Okay. I have a
I'll
motion.
resend my thing about the cross-section.
Okay.
Just make sure that it meets city code.
Perfect. Okay. Porter.
Aye.
Wilden.
Aye.
McComber.
Aye.
Podeska.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We have the police office remediation and repair, approval of change order with CERT Construction.
Yep.
Mayor, council, as part of the new building project, we also asked them to give us a bid on repairing the flooring and other things downstairs in this office building, as well as some of the things up in this room and other places of the building. And as such, this is the bid they came back with. We had already budgeted $75,000 for repairs and remodels to this building. Bids came back higher than we had hoped. We do have some construction savings from the project where we didn't expend about $75,000 in construction costs. That doesn't mean we didn't spend it in furniture and other things, but anyway, as the staff report outlined, it's to fix and repair a number of things in this building, so answer any questions I can.
Council? Okay, I'll entertain, Councilman Porter.
I know this is a change order. Do we feel that if we went a different direction, that we would get a better price, or do we think that this is probably the best price we're going to see?
For management and other purposes of it, we think this is the best way to go, partly because it's hard to get trades in right now.
Fine.
And so with them managing it, they're able to use some of their subs already and get them in and get it done faster than we anticipate we could be able to do it.
All
So
right, sounds good.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve business item 2, resolution R20-9 dated today.
I have a first from Councilman Wilden,
Second.
second from Councilman Porter. Any further discussion on the motion?
Just pointing out that it is an additional $34,455, as we had $75,000 already allocated and $75,000 in savings.
Okay. Perfect. Podeska?
Aye.
McComber?
Aye.
Wilden?
Aye.
Porter?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We have the approval of the minutes for January 21st and January 23rd. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve minutes of January 21st and January 23rd of this year.
With submitted changes. With the submitted changes. that
Oh,
came.
with submitted changes.
I have a first from Councilman Podeska.
Second.
I have a second from McComber. Porter?
Aye.
Wilden?
Aye.
McComber?
Aye.
Podeska?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We don't need a closed session tonight, right, Mark? We do. Okay, so we'll do that later.
Looks like we,
Is she ready, or?
well, no, we can,
We'll
Mark,
do
go
the
ahead.
admin reports for Mark.
We have a couple of items. First one, Tina asked if I could get a head count for the April 22nd to 24th conference in St. George for Utah League of Cities and Towns. I know Stephen is indefinite no.
I think I already told her that I was planning on attending, but.
Okay,
I'll be available.
okay. Michael?
I'm a strong maybe. I'll get back to you tomorrow.
I'll have to get back with you also.
Okay, great.
I think Chris Karn is going.
Excuse me. I believe that's correct. And I believe that he'd already responded to Tina. We have a couple of other items that we wanted to talk about. And whenever Judge Boyle is ready, you can stop us and we'll jump to that. But we have a MAG application that is due for our Foothill Boulevard project. This was a council priority that you'd identified at the retreat. We need to submit our application to MAG, within the next couple of days, and we wanted to get the council's response on how we go about doing this. And if you want to take a break, you can jump to that. And but basically, the request is we have 3 projects that we have identified for the MAG funding, and Gordon can take over here as soon as he got his graphic up. The first project was basically completing Pony Express through the North Shore, and it was just a little piece of it. This actually ranked really high, and they recommended funding for that. There's the piece that would be across the county ground that got voted no against by MAG. So that currently wouldn't be in a funded cycle. And then the entire Foothill project would be just outside the funded cycle. And this would be for a 24-25 funding cycle. And so The challenge that we had was they looked at the project cost and they just felt like it was too high. And so they asked us to go back, relook at that and see if we could get project costs down. And then we also took a look at, you know, perhaps if we, you know, did a slightly reduced width as opposed to the you know, proposed cross-section or something like that, we might be able to do it. We've gotten credit for a lot of land that would be dedicated as part of this project, so that we got the land acquisition costs down, obviously with what we're doing. The challenge that we have is really how do we get to a number that they're likely to fund? Now, with this, we met with UDOT last week. UDOT was very enthusiastic about the entire Foothill project, and they actually get to vote on this next round of prioritizations. And UDOT sees this as a major priority, so we hope that we will actually, with a new ranking, be able to get up higher. Again, the initial ranking is basically from the TAC, the Technical Advisory Committee members. And so as that goes, it really comes down to how do we want to present this? And so the question is do we reduce the width? And if we do that, then we can certainly save a little bit of money. Or do we want to keep the width there and then as a city pledge to pay a portion of it, which would get that number down? If we don't get MAG funding, then it's likely that we'll have to go through UDOT funding, or we'll have to consider another type of funding source. And if we did get the MAG funding, the goal would be that we would seek a reimbursement resolution, and then if you as a council wanted to prioritize that and move forward with us, taking a state loan or a bond or something like that, and then and building the road sooner. Again, those were the things that we wanted to bring back to you.
Mark, the standard width, Mark, is that the UDOT width where they would take over the road?
It would be the asphalt width that would get us 3 full lanes of traffic. Gordon, do you want to speak to that a little bit on the Foothill?
Yeah, that would be that's the width that we planned on with them, the frontage road that we agreed upon with them.
Yeah. And the reduced width would take a little bit off the shoulders, and so you'd have a little bit narrower shoulders. And I, you know.
Where this will be a UDOT road, I would hate to waste taxpayers' money to rip this out in 3 years and build it to UDOT standard to save a little bit today.
Right. The other thing that we had talked about is, do we want to just go to Grandview with our application as opposed to all the way to Lariat? And in doing that, it gets us a little bit closer to that. One thing that we could do is we could take the Lariat portion off, which is Grandview to Lariat, and we could try and fund that somewhere between now and when the project would be funded through UDOT and build that piece independent of that. Or we could keep it there, and again, what we would do is we would go back with the $16 million project cost and then basically just say, look, you know, we'll throw a couple $1 million at it out of our funding or something like that. Or do you want us to just apply at the 16.2 and see if UDOT's ranking will get us high enough?
The problem I
But
see
bear
with-
in mind, the TAC will probably swallow hard on the 16.2. Because they, you
I
know,
think we would need a plan if we're going to stop at Grandview to get to Lariat, because Redwood and Grandview will be a failure the day it opens. We'll be backed up to Mountain View Corridor all the way up, morning and evening, trying to get onto Redwood, and we'll be back in Redwood Road, south or north, depending on the day. So it will be a failure. So we've got to get it past Grandview as part of the plan. Whether we ask for it in this or later, we're
Again,
creating failure.
And that is exactly the challenge that we've been struggling with from a policy standpoint is do we try and I mean, we could aggressively go and try and fund Lariat to Grandview. We could try and get that funded here, you know, through a variety of methods, but we could make that piece, because that's really the choke point, right? If there's an accident or if there's something that happens in that segment of road, we have no way from the south to get to the north. So if we address that between now and 2024 or 2025, then what we would do is we would then just go to Grandview with the 13.5. And again, we'd have the 4 to 5 years to try and get that, you know, whatever we offer to try and fund that with.
So, but you talked about, you know, trying to get that reimbursement agreement in place, so we might be able to accelerate that.
Correct.
How would that affect
And this
our
microphone's
ability
like
to
a million miles
get
away.
that second piece put in.
So for example,
Chris, your
if we
microphone's
did
too
a-
far.
If we did a,
Microphone.
YouTube viewers can't hear you.
Sorry.
so if we did a reimbursement agreement, and let's say we only committed, we only did the MAG project for 13.5, or maybe even if we just said 11.5, and we agreed to pick up the 2 million there, and then the additional cost to Lariat, we would in essence be basically going above and beyond that. We would still be eligible for reimbursement for the amount that's approved through MAG. But it's really the question of how much do we want this? Because again, UDOT believes that it's got regional significance. The MAG staff believes it's got regional significance, but it comes down to a popularity contest. When the
Right.
TAC votes, it's who's going to get funded. The Provo Airport is above us in funding as far as prioritization. So we're dealing with kind of a political battle, if you would, from a popularity standpoint of what gets funded.
Right.
So again, I think that the UDOT ranking will come in heavily weighted our favor. I don't know that it will come up and get us high enough in the ranking for that regional significance. I think if we agree to, if we do something where we either agree to put cash on the table and say, let's say we go to Lariat and let's say we say, we'll put $3 million towards this project. I think that is a substantial contribution. No one else is throwing that kind of money at these projects. So I think that gets us a higher rating. I don't know that it will necessarily cross that threshold because Gordon and some of the other people think that it's probably more like $11 million threshold or something like that. So again, if we cut it to Lariat and then tried to get it down 2 million or something like that, it might be a successful thing, and then we could just do the Lariat connection independent of the rest of Foothill.
Right. I mean, I feel very strongly that we need to get this done, and, so we need to get ourselves to a position where we're gonna get some MAG funding for this. I'd rather kick in some of our road funds to build this, so we can get down to that level where we're gonna get funded. I mean, if we miss out on this round of funding, we're looking at the last half of the 20s before we.
With 26, 27 funding
Right,
cycle.
and we can't wait that long.
So, and this is a rough estimate, but we collect, let's call it $750,000 a year in transportation funding from road impact fees. If we were to take a look at that over the next 4 years, that's a number that you could say, okay, we'd be willing to take that risk and either build Lariat because it is in that, concept, or save that and put it towards that if we get the MAG funding. So again, if you were to say $10 million and then come back and say 3.5, or, again, it's that 10 million threshold. 10, $11 million we think we might be able to get there. But if we're above that, it's a challenge. And to the mayor's point, if we reduce the standard, then all of a sudden we're
That's not an
gonna have to
option.
go back and put an asphalt cut for 2 miles of road and go and put 4 feet of shoulder on that road, which just seems to be a waste of an opportunity.
It's not the right way to go.
I guess my preference would be to do the standard width to Grandview and then find a way for us to fund that extra, or to just put cash on the table to get it, that would achieve basically the same thing, to get us down to at least to the 13.5. That's
No, we need to get down to 10 or 11 is
I
what I'm
know.
understanding.
So, yeah, and again, we could go, we do the Lariat piece and then we go to 11.5. I mean, that's a significant, contribution. That's
Right.
more than others are putting on the table for their particular projects.
Well, in the past, has that mattered with the TAC committee?
Gordon?
If we put money on the table and say that we're participating at a greater degree than other cities are, does that,
Other cities are 0.
right? Well, 7% or whatever they have to do.
The other cities.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Just make you jump back and forth.
Reference to other cities maybe is not helpful, but participation, absolutely, that makes a difference.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I agree. It sounds like we need to get down to 11.5, so figure out a way to get us down to that number.
I mean, and even more. So, Mayor, can I?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I was thinking is obviously this is just the MAG portion. We could always work with UDOT and get potential funding as well over the next 4 years as they're going through their different projects and pathways, as well as we can contribute. And worst case scenario, we could always, if we have to, we can always go out for a bond and cover it, because this is infrastructure, and we've always talked about how infrastructure is key, and that's a safety. Infrastructure is a good use of bond resources. So for me, I'm looking at Mark and, Gordon, do we need to be at that 10 mark, or are you saying that we can get by at 11.5? Because I do know how the TAC is. They are very east side favorable. We've done well in the past, some of our things, because we've had Eagle Mountain and Saratoga Springs. What they're not taking into consideration is that this extension actually helps Eagle Mountain as well, because it frees up Redwood Road. They don't look at it that way. So it's not like Eagle Mountain, because Eagle Mountain should be partnering with us on this and saying, hey, we like, not with funding, but with support, because this then frees up and allows for more people to go left, and we're not going to have as many people on Redwood Road if they do need to come that route. But if we need to get it down, then I want to get it down. I think that I would rather get 10 million than lose at 11.5. And so I really strongly, if you guys can talk to some of your other voters, I mean, this is not like it has to be a secret ballot, because it's not. You vote publicly. Everyone knows how all the different cities vote on these things and the different entities. And then even talking to UDOT, just start, I know you don't have a lot of time, but feel where the votes might be coming in. Mayor, you have some contacts too. I know you're pretty well established at MAG now. And so I just think that would be really great. I just don't want to lose 10 million because we went for 11.5. And absolutely, I think 13.5 would be impossible for us to get. So I want to go to Lariat. I want to have that be the plan. We can make up the difference, and we go for,
Ironically,
And-
the airport's getting 15, 16 million.
well,
It will
no,
reduce traffic on our side.
right. We know about, I mean, the airport is definitely the political gem right now, and Provo's done a great job convincing all those cities down there on the east side. There's just more of them because we're big cities up here. We aren't small or little cities like they are. So I'm not a big fan of how the voting works. I think it should be based like the legislature on population, not just because you're a city, you get one vote. It should be based on population, because Saratoga Springs and potential population, there's so many things that should be taken into consideration, but that's not the case. Springville, Payson, they all get to vote equally, and Springville hasn't grown really substantially in 20
And
years.
some projects are more regionally significant than others, and that weighting is not factored into these votes either.
Right. So I guess I'm just being long-winded, fully in support of you. I just think that we need to even maybe be more aggressive so that we don't lose the funding. That's just my thought.
I would just say I absolutely agree that getting 10 million is better than getting zero. So.
These are estimates. It's not even saying that's the actual.
Right. But if I've already expressed that I would be in support of a bond if that's what the direction we have to go to in order to get this built in the near term. So.
Is there consensus at 10?
Councilman Wilden?
Yes, just a question for you, financing. We're talking about bonding. You have to tie this to you can't tie it to road impact fees. It's going to be either sales tax or a general obligation. Do we have capacity if you take this into, obviously this would take a priority in my mind, transportation over some of the things that we've discussed at the last, or library or whatever it may be, because it's a safety issue, but do we have sales tax capacity? I mean, at some point.
So my thought right now is if we defunded the Riverside Drive, we have about $1 million funded for that. But with the plat that you just approved earlier tonight, it connects to Devonshire. And so we could move about $1 million there just for that. And that depending on what we decide to do with Lariat, that would probably go a long way of getting Lariat built.
Is that cash or bond? I don't know.
That's impact fee. That's
So it's
impact
cash
fee.
then,
So to
okay.
your point, if you give me 4 years, I'm sure I can figure something out. I do think that right now, us pledging to do that, we probably can work it out. I do think though, if we're collecting $750,000 over the next few years, we can close quite a bit of that $3.5 million gap.
Well, and you said there's state loans and stuff that we could go go out
Absolutely.
for that would,
Absolutely.
rather than a bond, then we can use the impact fees to repay it.
And UDOT.
Well,
Yeah.
fair, but even the state's not gonna, everything's gonna be secured by sales tax. No one in their right mind is gonna secure a loan by impact fees. That's just, so at some level, regardless of loan or whatever, I'm supportive of it. I just think as a council and the city staff and mayor obviously is take a look at our bonding capacity as we look at everything else. And I know that's beyond this conversation, but that's the first thing that I should get closer, sorry. Just keep it in mind, understand what is it, the cap? Is it like 70% of your sales tax pay? There's some percentage, I can't remember in the state code, but we don't need to get into that now. We just need to take a look at that and make sure this is prioritized, and then we set our expectations, right size them on some of the other things.
So if I could, I would propose if you're, if you're set at that, we will submit the application. We won't know until about May as to the funding on that. But in the interim, we still owe you as a council some of our bonding and our goal priorities on some of those projects that we talked about at the retreat. We're still working on that, and our goal is to get that to you by the end of the first quarter. So, in the next probably 3 meetings or something like that, we'll be bringing something like that. We can add that to that as that concept, and it'll be a dual path, assuming the MAG funding, not assuming the MAG funding, and then we'll add that to that.
And fair enough, I know, like, to your point, we'll be able to pay it off 3 to 4 years, but regardless, it ties up your bond capacity for that period of time.
Councilman Podesta?
Yeah, I just wanted to voice my support at the 10 million mark to make sure that we try to get that funding and doing the whole project together, Grandview and, or beyond Delariat, yeah. So it's not to Grandview and then we're doing the second part to just have it all one project.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And one thing that I did want to point out is UDOT is working with one of the landowners to try and get easement dedicated for this. And that's going to be across, basically it's going to be from Pony Express at 800 West to the northern portion of Beacon Point. And so UDOT's trying to do work with them on some various right-of-way issues, which hopefully would help keep those costs in line. So there's a lot of moving parts, but if you're comfortable with that, we'll make that application and we'll go for the 10.
I mean, this may make some potential developments more accessible to develop. And I know we've done this with the sewer line, but those developers that are getting earlier accessibility to their lots or whatnot, I think it would be a worthwhile conversation with them to say, if you're coming in, why don't you contribute now? It's more likely this will happen. Not that I'm trying to accelerate development, just to be clear for all those in the audience, but the benefit of bringing development in when it does come is to benefit existing residents, which that will. And so I think that's a word, maybe you're already thinking about that and you can say, been there, done that, but that's just my thought.
We'll go shake the sofa cushions, how's that?
What?
We'll go shake the sofa cushions for loose change.
Well, they got bigger cushions.
You are so good at finding
They got bigger cushions than we do, so.
And if you'd like, do you have everyone here? Everyone's here. Okay, perfect. We'll hold off on our next item.
Perfect. Thanks for changing the course, Mark. Okay. We'll do the oath of office for the Justice Court Judge. Ann Boyle, if you want to come up, we'll. For the city of Saratoga Springs, Utah. do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Utah, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. Thank you.
And you have a beautiful new courthouse to do it in.
Been a request.
There you go.
I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. I appreciate all my children, all 4 of them are here, and Brooke, my daughter-in-law, all of my grandchildren that I love, my friends Deirdre, and I know, listen, my mind has just blanked. I know, but you know, I'm so happy you're here. Roger Blakelock, who has been a very valued colleague at the Salt Lake District Attorney's Office. He has served in that position for 40 years. He is just the absolute treasure. Thank you, Mr. Jack. Is that for me? No, it's not. And I just want the clerks to know how very much I appreciate Emily and Amanda coming out to support me tonight, and I'm so thrilled to be working with them. Thank you.
I had, real quick, the opportunity to interview Judge Boyle, and really, we had great candidates. I know when we brought it to the council, we had mentioned it before, but in talking with the council and what the future of our city looks like, as a council, we have full faith and confidence that you'll be able to bring to our court what we're looking for, and be part of the community. And so we look forward to having you as part of our city and our community. Election of Mayor Pro Tem. Okay, I'll take any voluntold nominations.
I like that we rotate it around. I like it when we have someone who comes in off the election and has been on the council, so I would recommend Ryan Podeska.
Okay, is that a motion?
It's just a recommendation. I just want to hear what other people are.
I'm fine with that.
Sounds good to me. You have huge shoes to fill. Huge.
He never misses, so you never have anything to do.
He missed when Chris.
I missed.
He knows better when I'm in charge. He doesn't miss. So
When we're
he'll
gonna
be
get
gone for the next 3 months.
If we're going to get ambushed, I'll let Chris go.
Well, then I move that we appoint Ryan Podeska as Mayor Pro Tem to serve for the next 12 months.
Okay, I have a first from Councilman McComber.
Second.
Second from Councilman Porter. Any further discussion? Wilden?
Aye.
Porter?
Aye.
McComber?
Aye.
Podeska?
Aye.
Don't you like how you really have no say?
I just lost my vice chair title.
Now, before you remind me, Mark, we'll come back to you. You're done?
No, we do have one more item. We wanted to talk with you briefly. In a recent conversation we were having with UDOT and with MAG, they notified us that the road width for 2300, basically north of Pony Express, as the Pony Express extension will connect through, from there, basically north into Lehigh and all the way up into Traverse Mountain. That's one of the only north-south roads that goes pretty much from our city all the way to the freeway and beyond up north. They've extended that road width. So they went from just kind of I can't remember what was the width before, Gordon? The road width before was.
80 now.
It was what?
I don't know, just the lanes.
Yeah, the lanes basically have, it's widened to an 80-foot cross-section. And so we were notified of this kind of late in the game, and we've already given our entitlements to D.R. Horton for their half-width improvements on that road. And so as soon as they notified us, we reached out to Pirelli, we reached out to D.R. Horton. There's some other properties that aren't currently developing, but we'll need to secure that right-of-way as part of that. We believe that we found a workable solution to get the appropriate road cross-section or the asphalt cross-section that we'll need to be able to carry that to the northern border at, just north of Pioneer Crossing. Is where we're going to need to widen that road. And so what we're proposing to you all is really that we create a new cross-section that will work through that area. Now, because Pirelli's already under construction, we've asked them if they would widen their project, and it means that they're going to shrink their landscape island on the sides of their property. If we fail to do that now, then we're going to have to rip that all out anyway and widen it anyway. We were able to work with them, and for the cost of moving a few storm drain boxes, which will be just a few $1,000s, they were willing to make that concession. And they are already entitled, their property's already recorded, so it was an on-the-fly recommendation that we made with them. They were willing to do that. We're currently working with D.R. Horton to do that. D.R. Horton's a little bit more complex because some of their plats have already been approved, and from an entitlement standpoint, it's a little bit later in the game. We've been working with them on trying to figure out a solution. We've talked with UDOT. UDOT is currently looking right now if they can surplus some property on the western edge of Chrisel's property that they could use to then offset the impacts of the road widening that's taking place right now. The cost of this, and again, we've had about a week and a half to take a look at this. We think the cost will be something to the tune of about $190,000. And D.R. Horton is saying, hey, we would like reimbursement for about 111 of that. If they're willing to make this, if we're going to change the cross-section to match what that standard is. Now, that's much cheaper than if the homes get built where they are. It would take out 23 homes because of the way that the cross-section is working. So as staff, we feel that it's a good step for us to take, but we would need to guarantee in the form of an agreement that we bring back to you the 111. And our proposal would be that we guarantee it either as a reimbursement of transit fund or transportation funds, or the preferred alternative is if UDOT can provide some land that would offset that. And it's going to take them a couple of months to work through that. D.R. Horton indicated that they would be willing to take that so that either way they're guaranteed the 111 or they're guaranteed additional property that would work. That works. The property, interestingly enough, the max density that they were entitled to will actually, they won't be able to use all that density with the commercial property or the mixed-use project that's going out on the corner of Pioneer Crossing and 23. And so if we were to get some more property, it would allow them to bring some of those units back into the table. And so I think it's a workable solution. Hopefully, because of this change standard with MAG and with UDOT, it would allow us to get that participation with that. So again, that's kind of the concept. We would also be recommending on the D.R. Horton side of the road a slightly narrower park strip. So it would be, is it a 5-foot park strip, Gordon? 6 feet. Sorry. Yep. Yeah, he's got the exhibit here. It would shrink it from a 9-foot park strip to a 6-foot park strip. That's how we're getting a couple feet, and then we're just kind of condensing things. They're also going to need to work on getting easements in backyards and things adjusted a little bit. But we feel like this is a good workable solution. They're looking for approval on construction drawings, so we were able to catch this right before they went out with construction drawings, and we hope that this is a solution. We wanted to get your feedback if you're comfortable with this. We would obviously bring back an agreement that codifies all this. Pirelli, we were able to take care of that, and I authorized that widening on that side, but I just wanted to make sure you're comfortable with this relative to D.R. Horton.
Thank you. I think that I'm just so glad to see some forward thinking, because obviously Pony Express coming all the way to like, this is gonna be a major road. It's one of the reasons why I was more comfortable having higher density homes, because I knew it was gonna be a bigger road and less single-family homes. They don't wanna be on these kinds of roads. So I absolutely support 100%. I think a 6-foot strip is fine, especially on something like this. I know they'll be planting trees, so they'll still have barriers to protect. So if something comes up onto the curb, a tree sadly can be a great barrier, and it's not as bad as a pole in terms of damage. So I'm absolutely 100% in support of this, and I'm glad that we caught it before it was too late. So thank you.
Yeah, I too am in support of this. So another council member.
I'm good with the 6 foot as well. This has come up, a couple of years ago, and we basically found that like, that's slightly bigger than the minimum that would be workable for our goals, so I'm comfortable with the 6 foot.
Yeah, 5 was the minimum. So
Yeah, that's, not that we're recommending going to 5, I'm just saying 6 is good.
With all the different parking things,
Yep.
5 is the minimum and 6 is more than that.
Yep.
Okay. Well, if,
Yep.
thanks. I got my direction. We'll bring that back, and then we do have just a quick closed session item for you.
Back really quick to the mayor's reports. In your packets, see two of you looking at it, the emotional self-reliance packet. Dr. Sorsby is working with a lot of the communities. They're working with the Alpine School District to come into a few of the high schools throughout the area and to kind of help parents understand how to work with their kids and help them become a little more emotionally stable, self-reliant. On that, they would like the city to help sponsor it. They're not asking for money, just access to our social media guru. And we told them they can work him like a borrowed mule. The other mayors are all on board. We're kind of the last city. So I just wanted to see if the council would be in favor of the city going forward with this. We've asked Kara from Communities of Care to head it up. Mayor Westmoreland and I met and spoke and said if we do it, we'd want it to come from Communities of Care so the messaging is the same between both communities. Because Westlake would most likely be the point where the meeting will take place.
Makes sense, it's central.
So
I'm 100% in support of anything along these lines. It also reminds me of our parenting, the adulting classes the library did. Absolutely, I think this is the right thing to do.
Yeah, I would say it makes most sense through the Communities That Care program as well, so.
I know
Part of
in
sponsored
my
through that.
neighborhood, we've had several issues with this and it affecting families who've lost children due to emotional distress and stuff like that. So I think that anything we can do to help with that and help those citizens have the tools necessary, I think.
To cope, yeah.
In fact, would he be doing teaching or presentations at the CTC, Communities That Care, that program, to help them spread the word out as well through the schools, or?
they're doing this through multiple schools. He's involved with programs in the schools nationwide, doing similar items.
Okay.
This is kind of his last hurrah. He's getting ready to retire. He wants to give back to his community. He's not asking for money. He's not making money off of this. Just wants to provide the information to parents to help their families.
So the presentations would be through the school then?
Through the school. They're working with Alpine School District to kind of tighten that up, and Kara was going to check on that.
I think though, to Ryan's point though, maybe make sure that the community's carried because she is, but all of the committee, they can be attending, they can be listening because this is
Well, to be ambassadors for it as well.
ambassadors, and then they can carry the message forward, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I would like to know when they're doing it because that would be something cool to even represent. I'm happy to represent the council, and if everyone wants to go, that's fine. But I'd like to maybe even be there to listen to what they're sharing because I think it's
So,
something that's of that value.
Mayor, did you have contact information so I can get?
Karen's already on this. She was at the meeting with us.
Oh,
We met
okay.
with Dr. Sorsby yesterday. We were the last city kind of to wrap things up.
Oh, okay. He
was at the
went
meeting.
through it all and
Okay.
gave us
Perfect.
some good information.
Michael, thank you. It's an 8-hour course, so.
No, this is something that's
I'm teasing.
interesting.
It's only 2.
No, I mean, yeah, but I think this is something that is very interesting. It's very important, so.
Yeah, the North County mayors were thinking maybe Westlake, Sky Ridge, and one other potential school up that way.
Excellent.
Lone Peak, actually.
Lone Peak or American Fork area. Okay, thank you. I will entertain a motion for closed session.
So made.
Have a first,
Second.
have a second from Councilman Podeska. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.